In a desolate town named Hollowbrook, nestled deep within a dense forest, an unsettling aura lingered in the air, casting shadows over the few inhabitants who remained. The town's history was shrouded in mystery and tales of the paranormal, but the most chilling legend was the one that spoke of the enigmatic police force. For years, the Hollowbrook Police Department had been known for their unwavering commitment to maintaining order. However, whispers began to circulate that something sinister lurked behind the facade of duty and protection. Reports of strange disappearances and bizarre occurrences linked to the police force became impossible to ignore. On a moonless night, a young woman named Emily was walking alone near the outskirts of town. Her steps echoed eerily in the silence as she pondered the unsettling stories that had reached her ears. Suddenly, she felt a presence behind her, a cold breath on her neck. She turned, her heart racing, only to find an empty street. Shrugging off her unease, Emily continued on her way, quickening her pace. Just then, a flickering street lamp illuminated the figure of a police officer standing ahead. The officer's eyes were hollow voids, devoid of any humanity, and his voice was a chilling monotone as he instructed Emily to stop. Trembling, Emily complied, her instincts screaming at her to run. The officer's gaze bore into her, unnerving her to the core. He demanded her identification, and as she handed it over, his fingers brushed against hers, sending a shiver down her spine. With a slow, deliberate movement, the officer returned her ID, his unnaturally long fingers lingering on the card. "Curfew violation," he monotoned, his voice resonating in her ears. Before she could respond, he reached for his radio and spoke in a language that sounded like a chorus of whispers. From the shadows emerged more officers, their hollow eyes fixed on Emily. Panic surged within her as she turned to flee, but an invisible force seemed to hold her in place. The officers closed in, their movements unnaturally synchronized, their faces devoid of emotion. As they encircled her, Emily's mind raced. She recalled the tales of people who had vanished after encountering the Hollowbrook police. She fought against the paralysis that gripped her, her fear lending her strength. With a scream, she broke free and sprinted through the darkened streets, the officer's lifeless pursuit close behind. The forest loomed ahead, its gnarled trees and tangled undergrowth offering the only escape. Emily plunged into the woods, branches clawing at her skin, and her breath ragged. The officers pursued, unrelenting, a chorus of eerie whispers accompanying their pursuit. Hours passed, and Emily's legs grew heavy as exhaustion set in. Just when she was certain she couldn't go on, she stumbled upon an ancient, dilapidated cabin. Desperation fueled her as she burst inside, hoping to find sanctuary. The cabin was dimly lit by a single lantern, casting flickering shadows on the walls. The air grew colder as Emily's heart pounded in her chest. She realized she was not alone. A figure stood in the corner, cloaked in darkness. It was a man, but his form was indistinct, shifting like smoke. His voice echoed with a sinister cadence, recounting tales of the cursed police force. They were once protectors, but their thirst for power consumed them. Now, they exist as mere shells, ensnaring the living to fill the void left in their souls, the figure hissed. Emily's horror deepened as she realized the truth. The Hollowbrook police were not human anymore, and their insatiable hunger for souls had ensnared them in a cycle of darkness. The figure revealed a way to break their curse, but the price was steep. Emily would have to confront the heart of their malevolence. With trepidation, Emily left the cabin, her steps guided by an unshakable determination. She ventured into the heart of the town, where the police station stood as a monument to the horror that had consumed it. As she entered, the air grew thicker, the walls seeming to pulse with an otherworldly energy. Amidst the oppressive darkness, Emily found a room filled with photographs of the officers in happier times. Each image portrayed them as vibrant, dedicated individuals, a stark contrast to the monsters they had become. As Emily touched the photographs, a surge of energy coursed through her, connecting her to the essence of their humanity. Whispers surrounded her, the officers' tormented souls trapped within the walls. In a chilling crescendo, their voices merged into a mournful lament, their desire for redemption echoing through the room. Emily's heart ached as she reached out, offering the last remnants of her strength to break the curse. The room trembled, the walls cracking as the officers' souls were finally released from their torment. Their presence dissipated, leaving Emily alone in the now silent police station. The darkness lifted, replaced by a somber tranquility. Hollowbrook streets gradually lost their malevolent aura, and the townspeople slowly returned, ignorant of the horrors that had transpired. Emily, forever changed by her encounter, left the town behind, carrying with her the weight of a chilling tale that would haunt her dreams for years to come. In a quiet town, nestled between rolling hills and dense forests, a sense of safety had long prevailed. The townspeople felt secure knowing that the local police force was vigilant and committed to their protection. However, that facade of security began to crumble when rumors started circulating about strange occurrences at the police station. Late one stormy night, a young officer named Mark was assigned to the night shift. As he patrolled the empty streets, he couldn't shake off an eerie feeling that someone or something was watching him from the shadows. A distant howl of wind seemed to carry whispers, and his footsteps echoed ominously. Mark's unease grew with each passing hour, but he brushed it off as his imagination running wild. Back at the police station, the atmosphere was heavy with tension. The flickering lights cast eerie shadows on the walls, and the air was thick with a sense of foreboding. A veteran officer named Detective Anderson, known for his skepticism and rational thinking, began noticing peculiar events around the station. Papers shuffled on their own, doors creaked open without anyone near, and chilling drafts swept through the rooms. As the night progressed, Mark received a distress call from a nearby residence. A panicked voice on the other end spoke of strange figures lurking in the woods, their eyes glinting with an unnatural light. Mark rushed to the scene, his heart pounding, only to find a deserted and eerie clearing. The trees seemed to sway to an unheard rhythm, and a trail of inexplicable footprints led deeper into the forest. Mark's flashlight flickered, casting unsettling shadows around him. Back at the station, Detective Anderson delved into the town's history, hoping to uncover any clues to the bizarre events. He stumbled upon an old journal, revealing a dark secret buried in the town's past. Decades ago, a corrupt group of officers had abused their power, committing heinous crimes and covering them up. Their malevolent actions had left a lingering stain on the police station, a stain that seemed to be manifesting itself now. As Mark continued his investigation, he encountered more and more townspeople with harrowing stories of eerie encounters involving the police. Whispers of ghostly apparitions and unexplained disappearances spread like wildfire. Each account seemed to point to a sinister connection between the past and the present, all tied to the tainted legacy of the police force. Desperation drove Detective Anderson to consult a local historian, who revealed that the town's original settlers had conducted dark rituals on the very grounds where the police station now stood. The restless spirits of those wronged by the settlers were said to be seeking revenge, and the corrupt actions of the past officers had unleashed their wrath. As the nights grew darker, Mark and Detective Anderson faced increasingly terrifying experiences. Mysterious figures emerged from the shadows, their hollow eyes fixed on them. Unearthly whispers filled their ears, and malevolent laughter echoed through the halls of the station. Reality blurred as they found themselves trapped in a nightmarish world where the boundaries between the living and the dead dissolved. The townspeople's fear intensified, and some even began to suspect that the police were involved in the supernatural occurrences. An air of paranoia gripped the community, leading to a breakdown of trust between the very people who were meant to protect and serve. Ultimately, Mark and Detective Anderson realized that they needed to confront the town's dark history and put an end to the cycle of vengeance. With great sacrifice and bravery, they managed to unravel the mysteries behind the haunting manifestations. Through an act of courage, they were able to quell the vengeful spirits and restore a semblance of peace to the town. However, the legacy of terror left a permanent scar on the police force. The station was abandoned, its walls bearing witness to the horrors that had unfolded within. The townspeople would forever remember the chilling tale of the haunted police, a story that would be passed down through generations, a cautionary reminder of the consequences of corruption and abuse of power. In a small, forgotten town shrouded in mist, the police station stood like a foreboding sentinel, casting eerie shadows over the desolate streets. The locals whispered tales of unexplained disappearances and strange occurrences that always seemed to lead back to the station. Late one moonless night, Sarah, a curious journalist, decided to uncover the truth behind the rumors. Armed with determination and a dim flashlight, she cautiously entered the station, her heart racing as if anticipating the horrors that awaited. The air inside was cold and damp, the walls adorned with faded photographs of officers from years past. As Sarah explored further, she stumbled upon an old evidence room. Dust-covered files and forgotten evidence cluttered the room, telling tales of cases long abandoned. Suddenly, the door slammed shut behind her, causing her to jump in terror. The echoing sound of footsteps grew louder, each step calculated and slow. The oppressive darkness seemed to thicken, suffocating her. Sarah's flashlight flickered, then died, leaving her alone in the abyss. A whisper, like a chilling breath, tickled her ear. "You shouldn't have come," it hissed. Sarah's heart pounded in her chest, her breath shallow and rapid. Panic gripped her as the whispering grew louder, reverberating through the room. Desperation compelled her to move. She stumbled forward, her hands finding something cold and metallic, a forgotten police radio. With trembling fingers, she switched it on, hoping for a lifeline. Static crackled, then a distorted voice filled the airwaves, repeating a haunting mantra: "They see all. They know all." Tears welled in Sarah's eyes as the walls seemed to close in on her. Shadows danced in her peripheral vision, morphing into grotesque figures that seemed to watch her every move. She ran through dimly lit corridors, her footsteps echoing, chased by an invisible malevolence. As she turned a corner, she collided with a decaying figure wearing a tattered police uniform. Hollow eyes met hers, devoid of any humanity. Its lips stretched into an unsettling grin as it lunged toward her. Sarah screamed, her voice echoing through the corridors as she fled deeper into the nightmarish labyrinth. Finally, she burst into a room, gasping for breath. In the center of the room was a flickering screen, displaying a live feed from the town square. The feed showed her, running through the station. The realization struck her like a sledgehammer: she was being watched. Footsteps approached, growing louder with each passing second. The figure emerged from the shadows, an officer, uniform pristine, yet eyes cold and lifeless. "You shouldn't have come," he intoned, his voice layered with malevolence. "You're a part of this now." Sarah's heart raced as she backed away, her mind racing for an escape. The officer advanced, and in that moment, the walls seemed to close in, the room warping around her. Desperation ignited within her, and she hurled herself toward the flickering screen. The world spun, reality distorted, and then darkness engulfed her. The townspeople never saw Sarah again. The police station remained, a silent sentinel, guarding its secrets and malevolent officers. Locals continued to avoid the area, fear etched deep within their hearts, for the police were not there to protect, but to haunt, and those who crossed their path were never seen again.